Germany, land of Porsches, Schnitzel, Dirk Nowitzki, and Kustom Kraft handmade boots. Made by the one and only Dennis Kieback. I pinned down Dennis in his workshop in Kiel, Germany. Lovely city about an hour north of Hamburg, near the Baltic Sea. Let's talk about how he got drawn to the bootmaking craft, how he figured out how to do it, funkily wonderful German leathers, and oh, so much more. Huge thanks to Nick's Boots for sponsoring this episode and the 2023-24 Stitch Down Patina Work Thunderdome, for which they've tossed up just casually a $5,000 grand prize. All right. And plenty more winnings up and down the line. You just wear boots, take some pictures, then you pocket $5,000. Easy. You should do it. More info at stitchdown.com. Nick's will also have a huge presence, along with 20 other bootmakers and tanneries from around the world, and unveil something very special at our boot camp event this October 6th and 7th, 2023 in Brooklyn, New York. You should come. Head to stitchdownbootcamp.com for all the info and tickets. All right, let's go get Dennis. All right, it's time. Dennis Kieback of Kustom Kraft Handmade Boots. Welcome to the Shoecast. How's everything going? What are you wearing on your feet today, my friend?
Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me. Today I wear my Birkenstocks. It's because of summer, and honestly, my workshop is directly on my at my house, so I can move from my workshop to the house immediately, and it's practical to slip on and in to the Birkenstocks. Yeah.
I've been rocking my Birks all summer, Birkenstock Bostons. I actually recently sent 2 color 8 Horween shells to my man Rory at Goods and Services in Los Angeles, and they do all sorts of like shoe customization and repair, sneaker customization, but like a lot of Birkenstock work. And so he's going to make me some Birkenstock Bostons that we're working on something pretty cool with them, hopefully, from a construction standpoint, which, you know, for Birkenstocks, there's not a lot in that department, but we're messing around with some concepts to make some color 8 shell Birkenstock Bostons, which I've been trying to get somebody to make for like 4 years now. Look, man, I'm so excited to talk to you. We've been planning this one for a while. Let's start with an easy one. How'd you decide to get into bootmaking?
I was into the leather craft for a while now. I think it should be around 2015, and I make a couple of things like I first start with a motorcycle seat with a tiny motorcycle seat for my son. This was the first time I get into the leather craft. And then I make a couple of things like belts, wallets. 2017, I began to make bags out of leather and later out of leather and canvas.
I love the bags, by the way. They're something.
Yeah, thank you. I had a friend, and he was into the heritage scene, and he wear Red Wing boots. And at this time, I was mostly a sneakerhead. Didn't had anything of leather boots, but I saw the Red Wings on his side, and I thought that's really cool boots. 2020, I decided to buy myself a pair of Red Wings, but instead of that, I was overthinking it. I thought it's it would be nicer for me to buy some tools and make myself some leather boots here. And that was the beginning, or just the thoughts of the beginning, because I didn't even know how to do it, and take a lot of time to research, what to make, what to get into the bootmaking game.
All right. So how did you learn? Right? Like, how did it go? Did somebody teach you? Did you just learn on the internet? What was that process like?
Yeah, it was a bit difficult for me. There isn't any shoemaker around here. I couldn't take an apprenticeship for shoemaking. So I decided to learn it by myself, and I searched the internet for bootmaking or shoemaking. And yes, I found something on YouTube and stuff. Also, I find a YouTube video or a series of YouTube videos from an Indian shoemaker class. They taught the apprentice on YouTube how to make boots, and the game changer was for me when I found a German internet page about the shoemaking craft. I could download a PDF file from an old shoemaking books for apprentice and master shoemaker, and the book is about I think from the 1960s. I could really learn everything in this book, from upper making, pattern making, and bottom making. Yeah, everything. And it took me about nearly a year. I learned the whole theoretical stuff before I started to do the praxis.
Okay, so the boots that you make, I mean, you have a couple patterns, but largely is one like a service boot, or I think you may refer to it as a derby boot. But yeah, how would you describe what the core product of Custom Craft is?
Yeah, basically, I make boots like this, and the pattern is basically based on a derby pattern, which I took from the book I told you. Over the time, I've learned something to put my own creations into it, and my influence are mostly service boots and definitely Østmo boots, and I look a lot of those boots, and perhaps this came out like this.
I'm pretty sure you're 27, maybe official pairs in. Maybe those are, what has been made for people or customers, or maybe that includes, everything you've ever made. What have been your most crucial, important learnings over those first 27 pairs? And how has the whole thing evolved?
Yeah, the crucial things definitely is pattern making. Before I started, I didn't know anything about rams and quarters. So first 20 pairs, I took the book of shoemaking craft, the German book of shoemaking craft, to help me make this pattern. And another game changer for me was when I saw a photo from Østmo. He showed the insole right after lasting, and I reached out to him and asked him how he made this, and then he told me about the stitch down construction. It was a game changer for me, definitely, because the whole fast channel or the insole making took really a while in the beginning. Yeah, so I was able to make a bit faster progress in bootmaking when I tried the stitch down construction.
Yeah, I mean, Lars has been an inspiration to many. Lars from Østmo Boots, and um, yeah, I love any time that he's willing to pass on his knowledge to somebody promising.
Definitely, so kind, but it's also the whole community in bootmaking or shoemaking. But Lars, I reached out to Lars in first time and that was the beginning. And now I have a connection to Ansang and Nathan from NF Bootmaker, and I really enjoy to have contact with these great guys.
Can we spend a little time talking about the last that you used for your boots?
That was the very first boot I've made, and it's the last from Spanle, and the last is called Springerstiefel last, or it's like a combat boot with a wide toe or high toe, and this was the first, and I have another boot done with this last for a couple of months, but I think I should do more of these because I like the shape of the last, and like the big toes, the toe area, and so for now I mainly use the last called, or better, I called it the 21/7 last, and I made on the 24/7 last Kiel boot. It's a little bit more pointy, or pointy toe, and at most I like the heel curve in this point.
Nice. So basically everything is on the that second last, not the original.
Yeah, but also I've got the last I bought from an old shoemaker. I was looking for some tools for shoemaking, and I found the shoemaker who sold a range of lasts. Yeah, he came from Germany, and on this last I built my Model 1 boots. It's a bit more sleeker than my first last I got from Spanle. It's a really high instep on this last, and I liked it also. And the Model 1 boots I've made on this last, for me it looks like a bit of a work boot, and I like this really much. Yeah.
I'm sold on that one.
It was really fun to talk with the shoemaker. He was really old, and he was lastly retired, and that's why he sold a couple of shoemaking tools, which I bought also, and I was lucky to get this from this old man.
So you currently make a couple different variations of that service boot, and then you've made at least one pair of engineer boots, as far as I know. What are you liking about what you've made to date, and are there other places that you're looking to take things in terms of patterns, et cetera?
Before I've made my first boot, which I showed you, I never had any high quality or good made or well made boots in my hand in person before. I've just seen some red rings from my friend, but I never get in touch with this. So when I made my first boot, I didn't know if this boot was good because I have no clue what is good. And that's also today for me. I didn't really have seen any or so many good boots. I've never seen Weiberg, or I never see a Wesco or some stuff. And I can't tell if I'm good in what I'm doing. So I can say really what I like on my boots. But like I said, it's the whole process I enjoyed and I like.
Well, hopefully, others, including myself, are allowed to think that you're doing a pretty good job, and you'd be okay with that. So I'd love to talk about your leather sourcing. Being in Germany, you seem to have access to some interesting, like really interesting leathers that nobody's ever heard of. And I think one of the ones that we were talking about is what leather is this? What tannery? You said I have no idea, but it was really cool.
Yeah, on the Kiel boot, I've made. I took the leather from the Tannery Kobel in northern Germany. It's an hour ago with the car from my hometown. And if I ever want to buy new leather, I drive to the tannery and I talk to the boss, and he made also some pretty good custom leather for me. So if I wanted him to make wedge stand leather into a harness leather, then he could make it for me. But for the Kiel boot, I used natural wedge tan leather, and I hand dyed it. Yeah, but the Tannery Kobel, I've got some leather from it. That's a harness leather.
This looks like great stuff. Gutsy, as our friend Wyatt would call it.
Got a great pull-up effect, and it's really soft, but yeah, I like it very much. And they have so many other good stuff, which I even seen yet. Lately, the boss of the Tannery Kobe texted me on my cell phone and said, "Look at this! I got a new leather, and come by and check it out." And
So it's right in Kiel?
no, it's an hour ago away from Kiel. So the tannery itself, it's like a museum. It's a family-owned tannery since 1800 ish.
Love it.
And it's since then family-owned. The pits and the tools they have are pretty old, and I love to watch it and stay there for a while. So when I went there, it took me 1 hour to drive there, but I stay there for about 4 or 5 hours because it's so cool there.
Soak it in. Look, we're going to soak in the first half of this and just take a quick break. We'll be right back with Dennis from Kustom Kraft on the Shoecast. Over the past 3 years, Spokane's own Nick's Boots has been innovating with exceptional leathers, first-class American tanneries like Wicked and Craig and Seidel, and new styles like their tactical, Chelsea, and Western boots. Palouse! But deep behind the scenes, Nick's has been cooking up something else. Something secret, something totally different than anybody has ever seen from Nick's before, including me. They haven't shown me anything, not a picture, because they consider me to be a leak risk, which is, kind of get that. So I'm endlessly excited to get a look at whatever it is that they're cooking up. They just keep telling me it's really good. At our boot camp event this October 6th and 7th, 2023 in New York City, which you should come to. You should definitely come to this thing. It's going to be good. So I hope to see you and Nick's and whatever it is they're whipping up over there in the Skunk Works this October. And now, back to the Shoecast. All right, we're back with Dennis Kieback, Kustom Kraft Boots. He's over in Germany. We're talking to him. Incredible. So you make fantastic boots, whether you think so or not. I'm just going to say that, which is both an incredibly rare thing to do, but also maybe the easy part in some ways. What is it like building a custom bootmaking business from scratch?
For me, it was hard because before I made boots, I've made this leather stuff, like I said, and bags and canvas backpacks, and I had already a business with it, a part-time business, and so I didn't make much money in this, and it took a while to make boots. And the first boot, it took me in about one and a half months to finish the boots. So I wasn't able to do this the whole time. I couldn't spend so much time in making boots besides my business for the bags. There wasn't time enough. So I had to get orders from customers to practice the bootmaking. And this was hard for me because, who wants boots from someone who didn't make any boots so far, or at least one boot? So nobody will buy a boot from this guy. But yeah, I was lucky. Some guy from Kiel, from my city Kiel, reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's make a boot. I want this," and that makes me so incredibly happy that someone reached out to me, to the guy who made at least one boot, and he wanted also to spend money or pay me for that. And this was incredible for me. So yeah, I could do another boot, and I got a bit of money for that. So yeah, I see it a bit like an apprenticeship for me. I'm also in this apprenticeship now because I have at least made 24/7 boots, and that's nothing, I think. I remember when Lars said you have at least do more than 100 boots to call you a bootmaker. So I think that's the truth. Because with every boot you have, I learned so much every time, and that's great for me.
So you wrote on Instagram recently, and I quote, "Many of the steps are quite easy to perform, but require a lot of concentration, which puts me in the flow state. In this state, time is beside the point and slows down. In this time, I can be myself." That's beautiful. You tell me a little more about that? Like, what's that like? How's that feel?
The process of itself is quite simple, because I think nearly everybody can put a nail into a wall, and yeah, that's quite easy. But I have so much to concentrate on this, and when I do this, feels like I came into a flow, and the time is nothing in this flow, or in this state of flow. Then when I start to work at 8 a.m. or 8 in the morning, suddenly it's 12 o'clock. I forget everything when I start to work, and that's a flow for me. And
That's the good part. What's turned out to be the hardest thing about bootmaking so far?
at least I think it's nothing for me. uh,
Nice.
Everything I love, even when I make mistakes. which bothered me for a second. But after that, I realized that I learned so much from my failures. So at one point of bootmaking, or why I make boots, I was very angry because it doesn't work like I want to. This I have the upper here, and so this upper reminds me of my failure every time I see it. I didn't had do enough allowance, seam allowance on this, and it doesn't work. And I get too many wrinkles of this in the process, and so I decided while I make this boots that I have to do a completely new upper. And yeah, that was a bit difficult for me in this time, but not so long. I think 5 minutes I was angry of the upper, but after that I learned, and that's a positive thing. And one funny thing where I got angry too was when I was sewing an upper on the post-bed machine, and my dog came in, and
No.
yeah, I didn't realize it, and he walked in front of me while I was sitting in front of the sewing machine, and he walked on the foot pedal, and the sewing machine was drive really fast in this time while I was making a curve, and I stitched straight forward and destroyed the upper in this time. It was not my dog's fault, but because he couldn't know, it was my fault to don't shut the door in this time. So I've learned for this time.
Yeah, don't get rid of the dog.
No, I love him. His name is Pelle, which is, I think, an Italian word for leather.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, but when we gave him this name, I didn't realize it.
Meant to be. Okay, so my next question was, what's the most frustrating part of bootmaking? Maybe it's dogs. Maybe it's something else. I don't know.
Yeah, when I know when I've worked with the stitch down construction, and I've got some too long nails into it to relast the boot from the last. Yeah, it sometimes took me about an hour because I have to pull the last out of the boot with the nails in the last, and that was so frustrating for me in this time, because I thought when I pull more, I destroy the boot, and I have to be carefully. At least that took me 2 hours of working, but I make so many breaks in while I do this, so it took me a whole day long to pull out the last from. I thought this was my first stitch down boot, my first pair. This was really frustrating for me, because I thought I never get this last out of the boot.
Oh man. Let's do something a little happier. Is there a most enjoyable part of bootmaking for you? Whether it's, maybe it's that flow that you get into, but even more specific, like a particular process or something that you're like, it's this part. I love this part.
Yeah, there are some parts. I think the main part for me, or the best part for me, is to hand weld the boots, to do the hold fast channel. That's a really fun process for me. I like it when the channel comes out and I could do the punch the holds with the all into the hold fast channel. That's a really fun process for me. I love to make my own thread because it reminds me of old traditional bootmaking or shoemaking when I made the thread for the hold for the hand welt out of linen or hamstrings. And even I make myself Schusterpech in German, and in English it's called, I think, cobbler wax. I made the wax out of resin, beeswax, and yeah, that's a really fun part.
What would be your advice to somebody who's considering bootmaking as a hobby?
I think when you do some nice leather craft works, you could get more into bootmaking. Yeah, so this is what I did before. Yeah, I worked about 5 years with leather before I decided to start with bootmaking. So the material leather wasn't new to me, and I only have to do a couple of more things. Yeah.
Okay, so let's now talk about somebody who, has done some leather work. They decide they like it. Maybe they make a few pair of boots and they're thinking about considering it as a career. What would your advice be to that person?
You have to be patient when you considering to start with bootmaking. It don't happen overnight, and you never have to give up because there were so many ups and downs. I think it should make fun for you. So when this is when it makes fun for you, so you have to work on and on and on. There must be a bit of luck, I think, like it was by me.
All right, we got to call it somewhere. Huge thanks to Nick's Boots for sponsoring this episode. The Stitch Down Patina Thunderdome, which you should only enter if you want to win $5,000 cash, and our boot camp event this October 6th and 7th, 2023 in New York City. Hope to see you in the Dome and in New York City this October. Dennis, huge thanks for coming on, my man. Just being incredibly humble and wonderful and more talented than you give yourself credit for. Dealing with, me speaking English and just doing this, man. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I enjoyed it too. And thanks so much for having me. And it's such an honor for me, really. Couldn't believe it in that I can make it to the Shoecast. So it's incredible for me, really.
Stop it. Honor is mine. Believe me. Look, man, can't wait to see where it all goes. Just keep getting in that flow. And yeah, let's keep going on this ride together. I can't wait to keep watching what you're making. That's it for this week. Take care of your shoes. We'll see you next time.